YouTubes! Welcome back, Haunt Fam. So it's been a minute. It's a frozen wasteland here in Indiana. Everything's frozen over. My driveway's frozen. You literally gotta be a Yeti to survive out here. And I thought to myself, yeah, a Yeti. Like, a Yeti, that's what we need to do. We need to make a Yeti. So I went shopping, I got one of them big ass nutcrackers, and we're gonna make him a Yeti. Sorry, Bumble. Okay, YouTube, so I dug out my little Yeti ornament, and I thought, man, we need some inspiration. So I got this little guy for the black tree for Christmas time. He's really awesome. Like I said, I love my Yetis and my Bigfoots, and I thought, man, you know, I was walking around Old Time Pottery, or OTP, not the Wu-Tang guys, and I saw this big old nutcracker. He's a pretty good size. I mean, he dwarfs my little witch and my other standard nutcrackers and my zombie. So I thought, man, this guy'd be the perfect base for a cool build. So I thought, okay, let's make him a Yeti, man. It's cold outside, so I want to give him a new base. We're going to strip him down, so let me grab a tool, and we'll start gingerly and finessingly taking this guy apart. So we might get rid of all this crap, get rid of his base. Okay, get his little hands out of the way. The cape off. Okay, 8 legs. Gonna make sure his mouth still opens, which he does have good mouth action, so that's always awesome. So now that we're pretty close to disassembly, got rid of this crap. Get rid of that nose, ain't gonna need that. Alright, he's got little gems and doodads. Let's start stripping this guy down, and I want to make him kind of a cone head, sort of a pointy Neanderthal type head. So we're gonna saw off his head, we're gonna come back and strip this guy down, start sanding him down, and start building his head and face up. Okay, YouTube, so I got our guy's head sawed off, I took his clothes off, and to my surprise, this actually ain't clothes, he's actually flocked. So, pretty cool. China, thanks for upping your game. It's pretty awesome. But hair can sometimes be a problem. You gotta try and take the hot glue off, and they just glue the hell out of this crap. I don't know what the hell they put on there, so let's just go ahead and, let's use the torch. Let's do that. We get rid of that hair fast way. This is sometimes just the easiest way to get rid of it. Just burn it away, because it ain't gonna matter in the end. See, look how easy that burns up. Alright. The most important thing is that we want to keep him functional, so we don't want to lose his mouth function. Because I like to do my nutcrackers traditionally, so gotta make sure that mouth works. Okay, so our hair is going, we're basically ready to set him up for sculpting. So I did go ahead and I drilled a 1/4-inch hole in his chin. We're going to put a dowel in there and glue it in because we're going to put a lower mouth on this guy. But I basically want to prep him and get ready because we're going to use some magic sculpt to build his head up and give him that kind of domed, kind of massive, thick cranium that most Sasquatches have. Okay, YouTube. We'll just sand off Mr. Crispy here. Look how fast that stuff comes off. And again, I'm just using 80 grit on a block, nothing special. It ain't got to be perfect. I just want to kind of take that ridge off of there and dome it in a little bit. Sand off his eyeballs, we're not going to use them anyways. Alright, so I can do the rest of that in a second. So, got kind of a clean slate to start with. I want to put some big eyes in them, so I got, I think it's 1/2-inch drill bit. And you can always die grind out if you wanted to too. And we're going to use his old nose spot to locate his new eyeballs. Just going to drill in. Come on. Right about there or so. We want to do one on this side. Alright. Then we can always die grind out later if we don't like them. Just open up your holes, no big deal. So far he's getting close. I want to do a 1/4-inch dowel in his mouth. So we're going to do that. And again, it's going to be simple. We're just basically using it to hold the epoxy sculpt in place when we get to it. So we're going to put a little bit of crazy glue in there. And we'll just drop in a dowel. Smash it in there. And then we'll cut it off because it ain't got to be special. Just enough to hold his mouth. Alright. So that's basically what we're starting with. So I'm going to go ahead and get his head all sanded. And I might open up his holes a little bit more, no big deal. And we're going to get him prepped. When I come back, we're going to start doing our magic sculpt and start building up his head and get this guy ready to actually look like an actual Sasquatch. Okay, YouTubes, we got our little Yeti all prepped up. he's ready to go. We're ready to sculpt on top of him. And for that, we're going to use Magic Sculpt. This is an epoxy clay. You mix it together. It's an air-dry clay that hardens, and you can soften up and work with it with water. So I got a little cup of warm water to dip my fingers in here. It will not dry out and crack like air-dry clay. That's garbage. Once you mix this stuff together, you get equal parts. It's easier just to roll out 2 worms, and you mix it. You got to knead it all together. And then we can use this to actually be our clay that we're going to sculpt our little head on our little Yeti with. So I'm going to mix this up, roll it together, make sure there's no strands or discoloration in it, twist it up, and then we're going to start sculpting on our little head for our Yeti. Okay, YouTube, so we're just about there. We don't have any color strands in here. It's pretty nice and soft and mushy. When it cures in 24 hours, it'll be rock hard. That's what it'll look like, except for this will get an alcohol stain on it, so no big deal. So we're just going to go ahead and make like a little loaf of bread out of it. And we'll just tear off a hunk. And we'll go ahead and start sticking it on our little Yeti. Like I said, I want to build up his head a little bit. And if this guy, the guy wasn't covered in flocking with glue, I just go ahead and put him in the oven and use Super Sculpey on him. But since we've got him covered in glue and felt and flocking, we'll just go ahead and use this Magic Sculpt on him. That way we don't have to put him in the oven at all. And we're just going to kind of cover his head and smash it in there real good. And like I said, it'll start tacking up in about 2 hours or so. It'll be fully hard in 24. So you just use it like clay and smash it in. And we're getting our little domed head we want. And if you're having a hard time smoothing it out, just put your hand in water. Water smooths everything out, makes it better. So again, I want to have him with a heavy brow. We'll put a nose on him. And you can work this stuff with just any sculpting tools. You know, I got just some silicone shapers here. It goes in real easy. You know, easy stuff, man. There's a steel tool just for smoothing out stuff. So like I wanted to put a big old eye ridge on him. I'm going to give him that big Cro-Magnon looking forehead and ridges. Just go ahead and we'll just smooth it right out into the clay, just like it was Super Sculpey or anything else. Give him a nice deep eye socket. Yeah, we just smooth it out with our fingers. And we got this little eyebrow. So I'm going to go ahead and knock this guy out. I want to do some on his bottom jaw too, because I want to do a build up and give him an underbite. I love underbites. If it ever gets old, we just got to be sure that we don't get on this flocking because it'll stick to it. So as long as we keep moving our jaw every once in a while, just to make sure, we're okay. Alright, so I'm still working on them. Just pushing them brows up and out. Give them a little bit of definition. Smooth out with my hand. Not too bad. Smooth out his eye sockets. Put eyes in later. Definitely put some big creases across his forehead. Like I said, this stuff sculpts really easy, really cool stuff. Gotta give him a nose, and then we're gonna give him some texture. So for that, I'm gonna use an old brush I've got. I forgot what it was painting with it. It's kind of stiff. And I'm just gonna go ahead and brush his whole head out once I get him done, and give him a nice texture so it looks like fur. You can wiggle the brush a little bit. Okay, YouTube, so we're getting close. I decided, oh man, I better go roll out some teeth for this guy. So I went to my old school standby, which is my Super Sculpey Primo transparent. So I love this stuff. I usually make a lot of teeth out of it. I make little thumbnails and claws and stuff for him. So I got his little toes ready to go. And I went ahead and I made a pair of ibex horns for this guy. If you're going to have a Yeti, man, I like mine to have horns. So again, this is just Super Sculpey translucent or transparent. And those are already baked and ready to go. So now I'm just kind of placing teeth in this guy before he fully hardens up. Got to make sure his mouth still moves. And so far, so good. So I'm going to pop his teeth in, pull him out, finish up his sculpt, and then we're going to move on to arms and legs. And we got to make a new base for this guy, something that's sturdy, that's going to hold him up. Okay, YouTube, so it's been about 24 hours. Our little pinhead is dry. I went ahead and drilled some holes for his little horns, so we think we're pretty well set with him. I want to go ahead and jump on to arms and legs. Now, obviously, these are not good enough for our Yeti. These are little skinny pencil legs, so we're not going to do that. I've got some 1 1/8" dowel, like a fat, heavy closet rod for you hanging your clothes on. Now that right there is a drumstick. So we're going to go a little bit bigger to make them more impressive and taller. So we're just going to kind of eyeball it. I'm going to go maybe here. so we'll make him that much taller. And then for his arm, here's his original little pencil stick arm. We're going to go probably 2 inches longer on his arm. So we'll go 1, 2. I want this guy to have some mean knuckle dragging arms. So I've got his leg and his arm. So I'll cut those in the little box tube. I like to keep it traditional and use wooden stuff as much as I can on these guys. I am going to go ahead and use some 5/8 rod and drill in. We're going to go ahead and, same as his body here, we're going to go ahead and fit our legs, so that way in case he falls, he's got an insert glued in there where he's not going to snap his legs off during storage or whatever. So we've got his arms set, his legs set. I think the last thing we're going to need is a base, and I always keep plenty of these on hand. Go to Michael's, and they got all kinds of wooden bases. Now this guy's a little bit top heavy, so I want a nice wide base, plus just a more impressive base for this guy since he's big, you know. That's too small, too small, too small. Too small. That's almost probably too big. That's kind of a good size. Will it fit up on there? Yeah, about the same size. Okay. Let's see. Maybe this one. Yeah, we'll go with this one. A little less plain, because we're going to deck the base out later. We'll put some foam on it, make it look like some rocks like he's standing somewhere in like the Himalayas or the mountains. Okay, YouTubes, so our drumsticks turned out pretty good. I got our peg for the top or under his body and a peg to go into the base. I went ahead and cut his arms. I did shorten them 1 inch because I thought, man, I forgot about the hands on the end. And a lot of times what I like to do is I like to give the arms a little bend so they don't look so static and stiff like a little soldier. So I usually just make a random cut, and then you can clock these however you want. The more severe your cut at an angle, the more severe your arm or bend in the arm can be. So I just kind of eyeball that, and that way you have a nice gap all the way around. And I'll glue this up like this, and I'll go back, and I'll drill a 1/4 inch hole through the elbow, and I'll put a rod through it and glue that in tomorrow to make it strong so they won't come apart. Basically the same thing, just like we're pinning our feet into the base. So arms and legs are basically done. I did find these cool little knobs in my jar of wooden doodads for hands. So we're going to use these guys as hands. Again, I'll go ahead and I'll put a 1/4 inch hole in and pin this, and then I'll pin the hand. We'll make some claws for this guy. And for feet, I decided to go ahead and just trace out some feet on a piece of old balsa wood I had. So it should cut real easy. I'll cut this guy out with a little handsaw, or probably just a Dremel. It'll go so fast with a Dremel. I'll make 2 of these, flip it over, and then we'll have our feet for the guy. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all this stuff up and get it prepped. When we come back, we'll keep going on them. Okay, YouTubes, so I've been busy. I got our legs done. The base is drilled out, so our legs basically sit right in there. They're ready for gluing. We're not going to do that yet because we're going to do first, before we do the legs, we're going to do glue. We're going to do fur. I got his arm pegs in place. I went ahead and moved them back to give him more of that hunched back gait and a wider looking chest. So I got his arms moved back so those pegs are ready to accept some arms. I went ahead and did drill out the elbows, and I inserted and glued in an 1/8 inch dowel, or no, 1/4 inch dowel, so I can just snip that off and sand it down. And that'll make our elbows nice and sturdy. So in storage, if this guy's ever leaning or he falls off a shelf, it's going to have to snap not only that glue bond there, but it's also going to have to snap that dowel in between there, so I doubt that. And then I went ahead and rounded off the wrists a little bit. I had sort of a disaster when I was working on his feet. This is that balsa wood I started with, and oh man, every time I touched it, it just chipped and snapped off, so that was about useless. So I decided, man, what can I use that's kind of thick? So I went ahead and I used some floor mat foam, and I cut out 2 little feet, and I just got done heat gunning them. So now we're going to have 2 little soft feet, so I'll have to be careful painting these guys. But these will be our feet for him. So we'll put these down and glue them to the base. So I think now what I want to do is finish off his hands. I did take and glue in the 1/4 inch dowel to our little ball, and I took a cutoff wheel, and I made little slots. And I did both arms. So this arm's basically ready to go, and he's ready for base coat and claws. My plan is to take these little slots, cut the little claws. Again, I want to use wood. I thought about going clay, but I want to stay kind of traditional with these nutcrackers and go with wood. So I've got a couple of popsicle sticks all taped together. I'm going to go ahead and shave these guys off with the die grinder to make a little hook on there. And then I'll cut them here, and these will be our claws for our hands. So I'm going to glue those guys in. So I think I'm basically ready to go ahead and start die grinding, and then get this claws glued up. And I think we're ready to move on to base coat, so we can paint the hands and his face, and get ready to throw some fur on this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and knock out these claws, and we're going to go on to base coat. Okay, YouTubes, so I based out our Yeti. I picked out a pale aqua velva, or no, satin aqua. Aqua velva's cologne from the 90s, never mind that. So I went ahead and based out our little Yeti. Got him a kind of a light, pretty blue color as a base color. Painted up his little hands, his fingers were all glued on there, his little claws. I did go ahead and paint his little feetsies. I put down a coat of Flex Primer first, and then a coat of Stilt Beast Cadaver Blue, because this is foam. If you guys paint on it, it will crack. So then I just went back and I lightly dusted a coat of the light blue on there, just to have a little light top coat. So hopefully no issues with that. So I did go ahead and pick out eyes too. I know for this guy, I want some icy cool blue eyes. So I have these guys I got from Michael's, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was on clearance. And check this out. They are black light blue. So I'm going to pop those eyes in them after we paint. We're basically ready to move on to paint. But first I wanted to pick out a chest piece for them. So I got a piece of that just, you know, like craft foam you get from Hobby Lobby and stuff. Again, the same pale color blue. I just kind of picked out a little pattern, put it up to his chest. So we can have like a little chest plate. And I just got some light lines. So I want to go ahead and put a dust coating of navy blue so it fills in all those cracks and stuff. So we're going to use this kind of transparent color. But I figure first, I want to go ahead and kind of trace out his little monkey chest. So I got just a little sculpting tool, something that's not sharp that we can cut the foam or not cut the foam with. So I'm just going to go ahead and put some little designs to cut in here for his chest. Like so. Little bread basket. Give him a little six-pack, like he's buff from running around the Himalayas for all them years. Just sort of like how gorillas have a chest plate. I think that'd be pretty cool. Alright, so we just got some lines kind of traced in there. Let's try and heat gun it, see what happens. What we know we can do too, we can give him some wounds like he's been fighting with other Yetis and scuffed running around the Himalayas. So we can give him some drag marks and tool marks. We'll heat gun it and shrink it a little bit. I want to paint this too as well. Alright, it's starting to curl up, so we'll let that cool. And I think we're basically ready to move on to base coat. So like I said, I've got this Design Masters color blue. It's a navy blue. They sell these at Michael's in the paint count. They're all locked up, so you got to ask for them. I should probably put on gloves. Alrighty, gloves are on. So I'm going to use just a rag, clean rag, or you can use a dirty one if you want to bring the stank and the filth. And I just want to kind of grab this guy. I think I'm going to close his mouth. I think we're going to cut a little felt tongue for him, too, like a little purple tongue or something I thought would be cool. But basically, since this is a transparent color, it takes a minute to dry. So I want to just kind of spray on and wipe away. And I want to make sure I get this dark blue in all the little recesses and hollows of his eyes. I'll go back and I'll touch up his nose later and stuff. But in his mouth too, so just want to just dust on. And then wipe away. And if we ever get too heavy, we can always go back and scuff some of it away, or dry brush the blue again. So we're kind of going for that effect. I like that a lot better than just a plain bright blue. Alright, so we got to do his hands. I'll do probably the back of his head. I want to do just the tops of his hands. So this is his little righty. So just the back of his hands. Because we're going to have fur on these. Like I said, we'll move on to fur next. And again, this is kind of a personal preference. You can put on a lot, a little bit. I just want the dark top of his hands to be darker than the bottom of his hands from, you know, grabbing stuff and fighting and whatever else he does. So just dust on the top. I'm going to dust on his feetsies. And then we'll just wipe away. I kind of like that little speckled pattern. That looks cool. Alright, might go back and dry brush his feet a little bit, we'll see. Alright, so I'm going to finish all this stuff up, get him painted so he's ready to go, and then I want to work on his base. So for the base, get over here, I want it thicker and wider. He's a heavy guy. I got to knock out his chest piece yet. I figured, okay, let's do some Loctite foam. This way we can kind of sculpt on it. We'll build up his base. We got to leave this area in the front clean for his feet because those little monkey fingers going to the inside. So I definitely want to bulk out this base a little bit, and I don't mind if I get by the holes or whatever. So we'll let this do its thing while I'm painting. And I'm going to go ahead and install his eyes too, and I could probably do his teeth because that's the end of our painting for this guy, except for a little brush painting later, touch up. And then we'll move on because next is fur. So let's go ahead and knock out his base. I want to make it look like rocky ground, like he's up in the Himalayas somewhere. I'll let it cure and smash it down, and I'll hand sculpt it. And we'll have a nice cool little base for our guy that actually helps steady him, because like I said, he's pretty top heavy with that big old noggin of his. So our styrofoam base is done. I'll let that dry since we did hose down the wood. Want that to dry real good. I'll run a heat gun over it, and I'll rough it up a little bit, and I'll paint that black, stone, gray, make it look like a mountainous backdrop. Our last little big detail is fur. So I went over to Amazon, and I found this overseas deal. It was like 8 pieces of fur for like 15 or 16 bucks shipped to my house. And I saw the inside, they came with 2 slabs of white fur. So here we go. It's a long shag, which I think is really cool. There's some other pieces here for other projects down the road. But of course, we're going to use the white. So my plan is to go ahead, and I think these are 10-inch by 10-inch squares. I love the white shag. I think it's going to look awesome on our Yeti. And hope that I can trim this. Yep, that's almost perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim each one to fit each limb. I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to Super 77 the back of it, and I'm going to Super 77 the limb, and I'm going to roll it up till we get them all fur covered. So I think I'm going to do the other way because I got to watch the way this nap of this fur goes. Okay, the nap runs this way. So I've got to roll our legs this way. Fabulous! Okay, YouTubes, he's done. Let's check out the Yeti. Okay, YouTubes, let's check out our Yeti. But I know what you guys are saying right now. But cobwebs, there ain't no blood on them. And I thought about it, believe me. I thought, man, I should perma-blood the hell out of this guy. Maybe he was wandering around the Himalayan mountains, and he snatched up a little Tibetan monk as a snack, and he chowed down on him, and it was a bloody mess. And then I thought, well, half an hour later, he'd probably be hungry again anyway, so I went ahead and figured, let's not blood him this time, I can always bloody him up later on down the road. Let's take a look at this guy. I got his horns glued on, made him some little ears, again out of wooden paint sticks. And there's his lever in the back. He is fully functional still, like all my nutcrackers. And the foam base is all the way around. And this guy still works. So, that's his mouth. I did go ahead and make a little purple tongue for him. I thought that was cool and different. Like I said, his horns are clay, his teeth are clay. I just went ahead and stained him with the alcohol ink. Put his toes on. He's got foam pads. And he actually pops off the base for storage. So I can lay him down in a box or something like that and he won't get tore up. So I also, let me show you guys, he's also blacklight. So let's check him out in the dark. Okay, YouTubes, check out our Yeti now. All that white fur I put on him glows, and as I showed you guys earlier, his eyes glow. But I thought that was a super cool one. I do not have a blacklight nutcracker, so I thought, man, look how cool he looks in the freaking dark. Them eyes just shine. How cool, man. I love him. Okay, YouTubes, let's take a closer look at this guy. So again, we just made polymer clay horns for him. Same as his teeth, and we alcohol stained them to show out the little details. And there's this little purple tongue in there that I made out of craft foam. So he is still functioning. And we glued on a bunch of Amazon synthetic hair, popsicle sticks for his nails, and we've got polymer clay toenails. And I went ahead and I hit a little skull on the base just for the heck of it. But overall, I'm really happy with him. He still works. He's super cool. He'll look great with all the other nutcrackers I made. I want the knife. Okay, YouTubes, that's my Yeti nutcracker. We started with just a little crappy nutcracker like this, and we made a big honking Yeti out of them. Like I said, I'm a big Cryptid fan. I love Yetis and Bigfoots. I think they're awesome. This guy was a blast to build. And, you know, I try to keep them traditional. I always make sure that their mouths are still working. I try and use as much wood as I can. And clay where we have to and stuff, but he's my first blacklight one. I just love him, man. I think he's going to look great with the rest of the Nutcracker family. They're a blast to build, and I totally encourage you guys, man. If you're at Michael's or Joann's or whatever at Christmas time, you guys got a bunch of these guys laying around, or you catch them on yard sales, they're so great to snatch up and make little monsters out of. Have a blast with them. So I encourage you guys, man. Take your old Nutcrackers, chop them up, make monsters out of them, man. Make your own little monster family. I thank you guys for watching, man. If you guys enjoy this, man, I want to see your pictures of your own nutcrackers on the Cobwebs and Candlesticks on Facebook page. Come join, show us what you're building. As always, I'm just 1/3 of the trio of terror. Go check out my brothers, Vic over at Monster Misfits and Dave at the Weird Kid Show channel. Guys, Halloween never ends for us. We're always scheming and putting something out and making projects all year round, so it just doesn't die off in wintertime for us. We're still building all the way through the wintertime. So I appreciate you guys, man. I'm glad you watched. I hope you dig it. I hope you build one. And if you do, I want to see it on Cobwebs and Candlesticks on Facebook. So until I see you guys again, keep it evil. That's right, Yeti. Keep it evil. Okay, YouTube, so that's my little Nutcracker Yeti. I want the knife. You, sir, are fucking fabulous. I want the knife. I want the knife. I want the knife. Gives me an idea. I want to take a Nutcracker I got. Let's go run to the shop and make a Yeti out of him. God damn it. Oh, fucking broke my caskets. Crotch bone. God damn it. I fucking hate winter.